Hello and welcome back in, you guys, to One Piece chapter 1105. My name is Sai, and today we have a lot to talk about. So as per usual, I like to tackle these chapters chronologically as possible. You know, we'll start from page 1 and work our way down to page 13. But this time around, I will admit, you know, I've got that itch. It's gonna be really hard not to talk about who might be showing up here on EGGHEAD Island before we actually get to that page. So bear with me. So first up, we have the cover page reader requested art again. You know, Oda, he's allergic to canon cover pages, right? He's waiting for the right number. Who knows when we'll get another one. But this time around, we do have Carrot making a really mean stew for Duke Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. So if you guys know me, you know that I love, you know, it is like a pleasure of mine to just look for hidden meanings in artwork that probably means nothing. Honestly, I really do love these artworks, even if they do have zero meaning to the actual story, even if they have no deep message behind them. I love them because they do bring back characters that we haven't seen a while back into the discussion. Like Carrot, right? Like, who's talking about Carrot in 2024? Duke Inuarashi? Nekomamushi? No, dude. You know, put it on the bingo card. I'm gonna say it right here, but in January of 2024, nobody has uttered those names once. I do not believe it. But here we are, talking about Carrot making a mean stew for her former kings. So like I said, I do like to find hidden meanings, even if there isn't one. And I guess my only takeaway from this cover page is that maybe, maybe if Sanji dies, right? Maybe if Sanji leaves the crew, we could call up Carrot to become the next chef for the Straw Hats. Jokes aside, though, I have seen some legitimate theories coming out of this cover page, believe it or not. I've seen people saying that, you know, at the end of this chapter, I'm going to spoil it for you guys, but we do have a mysterious third party coming to EGGHEAD Island. And I have seen one person, or at least two people, say that it could be Carrot, the Minx, and Zunisha. I'm not aboard that train. You know, sorry to say, I hate being that one guy who's not aboard the Polar Express, but I just really can't see it happening. Even though it's been over a year and a half since we last saw Carrot, the Minx, and Zunisha, I feel like it's still too soon to see them again. Because while it has been almost 2 years since we've seen them, in the world of One Piece, it's only been like a week, right? Like, we saw them at Wano, we parted ways with them. It would be really strange if we met them at the very next island. So yeah, I don't feel like it's going to be Zunisha whatsoever. I feel like that has a 0.01% chance, but I do love that people are bringing up unique ideas to the table. And another reason why I want to dismiss the Zunisha idea is because I feel like whoever is showing up here at the end of this chapter has to be able to progress the story in some way. Zunisha did not tell us what happened during the Void Century, so I don't see that changing here on EGGHEAD Island. And as far as Carrot and the Minx go, I just don't see how they would help us whatsoever. Yeah, they would destroy the marine ships. Yeah, they would stop the Buster Call. But outside of that, what would happen? Would we just say, hey, nice seeing ya, see ya later, right? Like as far as all the other options, I'm just gonna spoil it, right? We have Blackbeard, we have Dragon, I've seen people saying Cross Guild. There's a lot of options where they can show up, they can stop the Buster Call and help us to some extent, and we could keep on traveling with them, right? Like, they could progress the story. Carrot and the Minx, I don't see how they would help us in any way whatsoever. We already have their poneglyph. Luffy, from what we've seen, hasn't been able to communicate with Zunisha yet. So there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want Carrot to show back up, but that's just me. So now, on to the actual chapter. We got page 1. We got the Marines running away from the Buster Call. And let me tell you, if I was there on EGGHEAD Island, I'd be doing the exact same thing, right? For the top characters of the verse, a Buster Call is nothing, right? You can survive these every other Sunday. But for the everyday Marine, though, you know, a guy clocking in for a 9 to 5, a Buster Call is a nightmare, right? You might have to kiss your family goodbye. So yeah, these Marines are running. They're all hooting and hollering, running back to their ships. And this is when we see Doll, right? Doll, the one vice admiral here on EGGHEAD Island. She's like, hey, Saint Saturn, Borsalino, let's get back to the ships. Let's get out of here. Didn't you hear? A Buster Call's coming. And Saint Saturn says, Kizaru and I shall remain on this island. Begin the barrage as soon as possible. Doll is honestly really surprised by that answer. You know, she's really concerned for their well-beings, and before she can actually add some input here, Kizaru cuts her off, and he's like, go. Go, Doll. And I don't know what it is, man, but I think Kizaru looks pretty hard in this panel. You guys know what panel I'm talking about. I'm not going to put it up on screen for obvious reasons, but yes, Kizaru, Saint Saturn, they are a pretty scary looking duo. Really stoic, really stoic. But here's a couple of things, right? I got to bring up a couple of things about these first 2 pages. But first up, I really wish, from the bottom of my heart, I really do wish that we could have seen more Vice Admirals talk and or get bubbles here rather than just Doll. I feel like I'm the only person talking about this, but we got 9 Vice Admirals here, right? We got 9 characters where I think 5 or 6 of them, we don't even have names to them. So with that being said, you know, as much as I love Vice Admiral Doll, I really wish at least 1 or 2 of the mysterious Vice Admirals here got a dialogue box and or a narrator box telling us their names. I know they're fodder, right? Like, the Straw Hats aren't exactly going to be sweating over the Vice Admirals here, but they kind of feel like they just were brought here for filler, which is fine, right? Like, we need 5 Vice Admirals at least for a Buster Call. We have 9. We well exceeded that requirement, but they really do just feel like fodder, and who knows? I guess in the next SBS, Oda will answer who they actually are. But yeah, as it stands right now, the Vice Admirals have more or less been forgotten, with the exception of Doll. So this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but I do think it is a little bit interesting when you think about it. But we have been tackling pretty much a character from every level, right? We fought warlords, we fought Yonko commanders, Yonko, we're now fighting admirals in the Gorosei. We fought captains in the beginning of One Piece, like Captain Smoker, Captain Accent Morgan. But I don't think the Straw Hats have ever fought a Vice Admiral from start to finish before. Like, maybe I have bad memory, but it does feel like we've completely skipped over the Vice Admiral tier, which is fine, right? Like, I'm not expecting Luffy to fight a Vice Admiral or Zoro to go all out on one, or Sanji or Jinbei, but you know, it just does feel like they get no love in the series whatsoever, except for Garp, who Garp is an anomaly, right? Like, when people say that, oh, if you want a strong Vice Admiral, there's Garp, it's like, no. Garp is tiers above that, right? He could have been an admiral, he could have been a fleet admiral, but he just doesn't like the Celestials. So Garp, in my opinion, I don't see him as a Vice Admiral, right? Let's be real. He is multiple tiers above all the other VAs. So we go down a little bit, and when Kizaru says go to Doll, I feel like this does set the stage for Kizaru to do multiple different things in the next couple of chapters, and take that how you will, right? So in my opinion, Kizaru has been very, very, very unclear throughout Egghead Island, from saying that he doesn't want to kill Vegapunk, to saying he's a cog in the machine, to crying last chapter. You know, like, Kizaru, we don't really know where he's gonna sway. Is he going to betray Saint Saturn? Is he going to kill Vegapunk? It's really up in the air, in my opinion. But right here, I feel like with Kizaru being left alone with Saint Saturn on Egghead Island, I feel like this does set the stage for Kizaru to potentially betray Saint Saturn, and all of the Marines here would be none the wiser. This opens up the door for Saint Saturn to actually be killed. This could be the shocking event, and then Kizaru could go back, after betraying him and say, hey, the Straw Hats took him down. I don't know what happened, right? And then there's like light holes through Saint Saturn. I don't know. Maybe Kizaru's been waiting for his chance to take down Saint Saturn, but he didn't want to do it in front of the other Marines because that would set a really bad precedent. But now that him and Saint Saturn are alone here, maybe he's willing to pull the trigger. So now it's time to play devil's advocate to myself, though, because, while I do like to think that Kizaru would betray Saint Saturn at the end of the day, maybe that doesn't happen. And maybe by having all the Marines leave the island, Kizaru will go sicko mode. Maybe Kizaru has a Logia awakening and he didn't want to use it earlier because Marines were nearby, because too many people would get caught in the crossfire. There's also the ability where Kizaru jumps up in the sky and, shoots down like a bajillion light beams. Maybe Kizaru couldn't do that beforehand because too many Marines were nearby, but now that they're gone, he can do it. So yeah, while I can see this being the perfect stage for Kizaru to betray Saint Saturn, This could also be a great stage for Kizaru to show what he is truly capable of. So yeah, after Kizaru gives Doll the order to go, Doll ends up leaving along with the other VAs, and then that is when we cut over to Vegapunk, who's like, hey, how could you destroy this island? You're gonna set humanity back hundreds of years. Please, I'm begging you, Kizaru, stop this madness. And the Kizaru panel looks so pained. It almost looks like he's looking behind him, like he's waiting for Saint Saturn to call off the Buster Call. He looks like one of those guys who's like, hey, boss, please let me clock out. You know, please tell me we're done here. But of course, Saint Saturn holds his ground, and he actually doubles down. He's like, well, Vegapunk, who knows what you could be hiding here? Maybe there's another thing on this island that could be a hindrance to the world government. Either way, we have no need for further advancement. And to top it all off, Saint Saturn also tells Vegapunk that he gave the orders to kill the civilians that were leaving Egghead Island the other day. Classic world government shenanigans. And here's the thing, right? We could see Saint Saturn as a very callous man, a guy who's just ready to hunt down some rabbits, but it does make sense in a way, right? When you really think about it, Vegapunk has betrayed Saint Saturn time and time again. He tried to work with Kuma behind Saint Saturn's back. Saint Saturn had to wiretap Vegapunk to find out about their deal. Vegapunk was supposed to put a bomb inside of Kuma. He didn't do that. You know, Saint Saturn gave him all the funding in the world. Vegapunk ended up using it to research the Void Century. Yeah, you know, you can't really trust Vegapunk at this point if you are Saint Saturn. So him wanting to be thorough makes sense from his standpoint. I'm not agreeing with it per se, but it does make sense. It does make sense. As odd as it sounds, I really wish we got to see Kizaru's reaction to this news. I'm sure Kizaru knew already that this was happening, but the reason why I would love to see his reaction is because going back to Ohara, where we had the Buster Call, we had the researchers be killed, we had Akainu, and we also had Kuzan there. And Kuzan was like, ah, damn, like, I would never go as far as that guy. This is awful. Why would we kill the researchers, right? Kuzan was pretty broken up about killing innocent civilians. Akainu didn't really care too much. So I kind of want to see what Kizaru's reaction would be here. Like, would Saint Saturn be the Akainu of this situation, and Kizaru would be the Kuzan of this situation where he's kind of broken up about it? I feel like he would be, right? Because since Kizaru was often here at Egghead Island, we do know that he partied with the researchers here as well. So I feel like he might even have a stronger emotional connection than Kuzan did with Ohara. So after the Vegapunk section, we cut out and we see the rest of Egghead Island. We see that the Marines are now boarding the ships. They're evacuating as soon as possible. We also learned that they're leaving the Mark III pacifistas here on the island as well, which I think is a little bit interesting. I can't tell if they're trying to destroy the pacifistas along with Egghead Island, or if they are going to go back for them and pick them up later. I'm not too sure, because I feel like the Mark III pacifistas and pacifistas in general play such an integral role in the Marines' power system in the world. And not to mention, but they are really expensive, right? I think Vegapunk said that each pacifista costed about the same as a battleship. So leaving the pacifistas here to get blasted by the Buster Call doesn't seem like the smartest idea in my opinion. But yeah, it is a little bit strange, especially since the Seraphim are also still on this island, and the Seraphim are the reason why the world government felt confident in getting rid of the Shishibukai system. So I feel like the Navy isn't exactly doing themselves any favors here. But then again, these are just 50 Mark III pacifistas. I'm sure there are more pacifistas around the world that aren't on this island, but at the end of the day, Mark III pacifistas and the Seraphim are at the top of the tier list when it comes to Vegapunk's weaponized creations. The next thing we see going down is that Sanji has safely led Frankie, Bonnie, Atlas, and Kuma to the space shuttle, right? He's trying to send them back up to the Labo phase so that they can get off of this island as soon as possible. Sanji is like, hey, don't worry guys, I will go back to Vegapunk, and he gives Bonnie this really cute thumbs up, which I really like. I love Sanji and Bonnie's relationship. It really does strike me as a big brother, little sister type thing, and it's just made all the better knowing that they are both children of science, right? Everybody down here in this Labo phase has some sort of science in their body. So yeah, I feel like Sanji and Bonnie vibe on that level, and it's really wholesome to see. But with that being said, I am now really hoping that Sanji comes through for Bonnie. Because Bonnie says, hey, Sanji, what about Dr. Vegapunk? Sanji says, don't worry, Bonnie-chan, I am not leaving without him. See, in this arc, I kind of felt like Vegapunk has been more or less disposable. Like no offense, right? But we have all of the satellites. We have Lilith, we have Edison and York, who are the only surviving ones now. But I felt like if Stella died, it would be somewhat okay, because his satellites would still be there. They would carry on his legacy, they would carry on his knowledge. So Vegapunk's death is very 50-50 in my opinion, leading up to this point. But now that Sanji has somewhat promised Bonnie that he would go back for Vegapunk and that he would bring him with himself, I'm like, yo, Vegapunk, please live. Do not make Sanji look like a bad guy in front of Bonnie. But then again, I feel like Bonnie would understand, because given the circumstances, things just are not looking good. But yeah, I feel like if Sanji were to bring back Vegapunk safely, it would look really nice. And even just pushing Sanji to the side for a minute, it would be really nice for Bonnie if Vegapunk lived. Bonnie lost her dad. She finally learned that Vegapunk, a guy who she's hated for the past 2 to 3 years, is actually a good guy. It's like, yo, like, Bonnie needs somebody. She needs some sort of parental figure, and I feel like Vegapunk could fit that role. So yes, Vegapunk, please live. Please do not die, my man. Which I just gotta say, I am shocked that he's alive in this chapter. Because when you really think about it, Luffy is out of commission right now, right? He's eating at the vending machine. Sanji and the boys, they're at the space shuttle. So really, Vegapunk is alone with Kizaru and Saint Saturn. And Vegapunk's still alive, right? Like, thankfully, Vegapunk distracted them by talking to them. Love to see it, love to see it. So, we go down a little bit more, and we get an update on what's been happening upstairs at the Labo Stratum. And we hear from Nami that Zoro is still fighting Rob Lucci. We don't see it this chapter. Maybe that's something we'll see next chapter, because we do learn that she sent Jinbei over to get Zoro so that he doesn't get lost. Jinbei could easily help, dismantle the situation. Zoro versus Rob Lucci, that's a fight that wouldn't exactly get resolved ASAP, but with Jinbei there, Rob Lucci's kind of cooked, right? 2v1 against Rob Lucci. I don't think Rob Lucci is going to win that one in any regard. And not to mention, but there is a Buster Call coming in, and I feel like Jinbei could be the voice of reason. He could step in the fight and say, hey, Zoro, Lucci, we're all going to die if we stay here. We got to get off this island. And then they'll be like, hey, we'll save this for another time. And then they just part ways, right? I could see that happening. But then again, Rob Lucci is a little bit of a hard-headed guy. Going back to Eni's lobby, there was a Buster Call taking place, and Rob Lucci stood his ground. Actually, no, he didn't. To be fair, the Buster Call hit everything except for the tower Rob Lucci was in. So maybe this time around, Rob Lucci will leave because the Buster Call does endanger him. And plus, now that I think about it, nobody told Rob Lucci to evacuate, right? Like Rob Lucci is being left in the dark here. So maybe Lucci will skedaddle once he hears the updates on what's been happening. So yeah, Jinbei going over to get Zoro, it's really cool. Like, when you really read Nami's dialogue here, she doesn't say that she's sending Jinbei to defeat Rob Lucci or anything of the sort. She's simply sending Jinbei so that Zoro doesn't lose to directions later on. Which makes a lot of sense, right? Because the Buster Call, like, let's be real. Imagine we're all on the Thousand Sunny, and then we're like, hey, where's Zoro? Did he get lost again? We gotta go. So yeah, Nami is playing it really smart right here by sending Jinbei to go get him. And on another note, I am so glad that Jinbei is off of box duty. I wasn't complaining about it, but it did hit me as a little bit goofy that Jinbei, such a versatile and high-tier fighter, was stuck moving boxes to and from the Thousand Sunny. It's like, okay, come on. Jinbei could be so useful anywhere you put him, and you got this guy on Amazon delivery day. So yeah, Jinbei doing something meaningful just feels really good here. Speaking of meaningful though, so for the past, I think 20 or so chapters, people have been wondering, where has Robin been? 20 chapters might be a little bit of an exaggeration. I just don't know when she exactly went missing. But yeah, Robin has been MIA for a while now. People were wondering, what happened to her? Did the Blackbeard pirates get her? Oh no, Lafitte and Devon, you know, like, those guys are really stealthy. Did they sneak up here and steal Robin? Is Robin learning about the Void Century? Is she perhaps with the ancient robot? Did she bring Luffy food last chapter? There were a lot of hot theories going around about Nico Robin. And let me tell you what Oda did. Oda simply hit you with the gray card. He hit us with something that nobody has seen coming. Here's the thing, right? Like, I've been in the trenches, my man. You know, I'm here every week. I'm reading comments. I'm looking at theories. And not one person has said Robin's taking a nap. You know, I've seen people say that maybe Oda forgot to draw Robin. You know, I was 5% of the way there. I was like, okay, he could have forgotten her, but it felt a little bit intentional. But not once have I seen the theory, or at least even come up with the theory, that Robin was simply taking a nap. Robin was sleeping this entire time. It's kind of funny, and I like to imagine that Oda probably just did forget to draw Robin, and he was like, oh, people are theorizing? Well, you know, like, he's like, I guess she was sleeping this entire time. I think it's pretty funny. And this is another one of those moments where, you know, the fan base, we all love to, like, overthink it, which is fair. I think that's the fun part about One Piece. And it's also funny when we get an answer like this, right? There were so many crazy ideas going around with Robin that all made sense. Don't get me wrong, like, all of the ideas made sense. Robin is all about knowledge and learning, so Egghead Island is her playground. You know, like, Robin could do so much here. So having her just take a nap is a little bit funny. I do like to imagine that Oda had a really good chuckle when he went online on the Japanese forums and saw how many people were talking about Robin and how she's been MIA for a while, only to draw her sleeping. It's a good one. It's a good one. And, you know, I don't know how many of you guys peruse Japanese forums and theories, but they're very much like the American theories or the English theories, I would say. You know, they have a lot of the same ideas that we do. Of course, they catch more nuances in the Japanese kanji and the writings, but other than that, base level, you know, we're not too different. We're not too different. So since we're here up on the Labo phase, we also get an update as to what their escape plan is now that the Vegaforce 1 is destroyed. And it turns out that we don't really have too big of an update. Nami's like, yeah, we can't exactly get carried off the coast anymore, but we're still gonna put the Thousand Sunny at the back end of the Labo phase, which makes sense, right? Even though the robot can't carry them past the coast, they can still coup de burst and get a decent distance away from the Marines. So even though the Vegaforce 1 is destroyed, it doesn't exactly mean that their plans have entirely crumbled. Of course, though, I feel like this will be supplemented by the fact that the ancient robot is up and running, right? We lose one robot, we'll get another one. It's no big deal. But I do wonder how we're going to control it to do what we want, because the ancient robot, which still hasn't been shown yet, is kind of an anomaly. Like, will it listen to Luffy? Will it even help us out? Is it a fighter? Can it fly like the Vegaforce 1? I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like this is the best place for the ancient robot, right? We get to the end of the island, we're trying to leave, we have no options since the Vegaforce 1 is gone, and then boom, the ancient robot shows up and he fulfills that role. I could see that happening. And who knows, maybe the ancient robot can do us a lot better than the Vegaforce 1, because the Vegaforce 1, like Nami says, is tethered to this island. It could only take them to the coast of the island. So maybe the ancient robot can take them all the way, right? Maybe this ancient robot takes us to Elbaf. And hey, if Elbaf and the Giants have some connection to Joy Boy, maybe they'll recognize the ancient robot and they'll give us some extra lore about it. I think that could be pretty dang huge. So we go on a little bit and we see that the way they're getting the Thousand Sunny to the coast is all thanks to Brook. And I'm not gonna lie, the last video I made about this chapter, I was kind of talking about all the Straw Hats and where they are, what they're doing, and sad to say, but I did forget about Brook. I talked about all the Straw Hats except for Brook. So it was a very pleasant surprise when I saw that Brook was going crazy in this chapter. We had a page and a half dedicated to Brook and Lilith bringing the Thousand Sunny to the coast. But Brook isn't exactly a genius, right? While it is a stroke of genius that he's using his ice abilities to bring the Thousand Sunny over, he didn't exactly think about how to stop the Thousand Sunny. The Thousand Sunny at this pace is going to fly off the island, right? Nobody's on board except for Brook and Lilith, and they're about to fly off the coast because all of the clouds are icy. And with this event unfolding right here is where I step into my Looney Tunes territory of theory crafting. Oh boy. So I'm not gonna lie, my first time reading this, I thought it was no big deal. I was like, okay, Thousand Sunny, Brook, Lilith, who really cares, right? Like, this is the least important thing going on here at Egghead Island. You know, send me back to Sanji and Kizaru. I want to see what's going on there. Where's Luffy at, right? But now that I'm on my third or fourth read, I'm like rubbing my chin and I'm like, wait a minute. This is a big deal. You know, the Thousand Sunny flying off the clouds. Oh no, you know, somebody has to stop it. Brook has no idea how to. Lilith can't exactly stop the Thousand Sunny. That's like a Whitebeard feat, right? Like, Whitebeard is able to stop the Moby Dick with one hand. I don't know about Lilith or Brook. Who else could stop it up here? I guess we have Zoro and Jinbei. They could stop the Thousand Sunny, but they're preoccupied. They're dealing with Rob Lucci. You know, Usopp, Nami, and Chopper, they're up with Robin. It's like, okay, what is gonna happen here? And I feel like, you know, call me crazy. I feel like whoever is on their way here to Egghead Island is going to stop the Thousand Sunny. And I don't know if I should bring it up now or later. Oh man, I'm gonna bring it up later. I'm sorry, I'm blue balling you guys, but I do believe that whoever's showing up here is going to save the Thousand Sunny from this goofy scenario. So we go down a little bit more, you know, so sorry about that one. And we see that the Buster Call has finally commenced. The Vice Admiral with the clamshells commences the first volley. The Mark III Pacifistas also join in on the fun, right? They're all just dogpiling bombs on Egghead Island. It's so sad, man. I feel bad for Vegapunk. It is actually like a really depressing scene. It's like a scene from JJK where Yuji wakes up and he sees that Shibuya has just been leveled. It is a sad sight to behold. All of Vegapunk's creations are being destroyed right before his eyes. He needs a savior, right? I was almost expecting Luffy to walk over and, you know, put the straw hat on Vegapunk's apple like he does to Nami or Kinemon or something. I'm like, oh yeah, where's Luffy at? Where's Luffy? So we go down a little bit more and we see that the rocket shuttle that is heading up to the Labo phase is almost there. All they need is 32 seconds. But that is when the unclear man Kizaru comes up and slices the shuttle in half. He cuts the tube and they all fly out of the rocket. We have Kuma, Bonnie, Atlas, and Frankie all exposed. And that is when Saint Saturn orders all of the Pacifista, all Mark IIIs on the island, shoot them down. And man, it is a great scene. Oh boy. Seeing the top view down of Egghead Island is beautiful. It's beautiful. A truly great panel from Oda. Of course, it is a little bit marred by the notion that 4 characters are about to meet their end, but I do think somebody's gonna save them. Now, brings up the question of who is going to save these guys up in the sky. I don't think Sanji is going to be the one who does it because he's so far away. Yeah, theoretically, Sanji could make it up there really quick. I do believe Sanji can travel up there and at least save one of them, but Sanji carrying all 4 characters seems a little bit beyond me. Like, even looking at the panel where Sanji says that he's coming, he really just says, I'm coming, Bonnie. So it's like, okay, like, Sanji could save Bonnie, but what about Kuma, Frankie, Atlas? You know what I mean? Like, and even thinking about it, Sanji could skywalk, and at most, he can grab, like, 2 people? Yeah, it's so rough. It's so rough. So I don't think Sanji is gonna be the savior here. And the other savior we could potentially have would be Luffy, right? But where's Luffy at? We find out in this final page that Luffy is at the Egghead vending machine, the food vending machine. He's been eating up this entire time. So now that Luffy has ate a lot of food, is there a chance that Luffy can now jump back out there and save the day? Well, that is a little bit iffy because Luffy says that he is so stuffed that he can barely move. So with Luffy saying this, I am under the assumption that he is not going to be the one who saves Kuma from this situation. Of course, though, he could activate some brand new Gear 5th ability and save them in a really cartoony manner, because last time Luffy was so stuffed he could barely move, he did turn into Gear 4th Tank Man. So maybe there is going to be a Gear 5th variant of that, where he absorbs all of the lasers and he protects everybody. That is an option, I guess, but I am more leaning on the side that Luffy is out of commission for the time being. So since Luffy is too busy digesting his food, and since Sanji is too far away to actually do anything right now, who is going to save Kuma, Bonnie, Atlas, and Frankie? Well, I feel like whoever is on their way to Egghead Island in the last panel are going to be the ones who save us from this predicament. And I also feel like they are going to be the ones who stop the Thousand Sunny up on the Labo phase. And at first, I was playing around with the idea that it could be Blackbeard, right? Blackbeard and his crew, they were last seen off the coast of Egghead Island. And I feel like they still could be off the coast. They could be nearby, waiting to reap the spoils of war. I still feel like that is the case. But as far as them saving us right here, I can't see it happening, right? Marshall D. Teach coming in, absorbing the light beams, Lafitte and Devon stopping the Thousand Sunny. No. I don't think they are the ones who are coming right now. Like I said, I do still believe they're nearby, and they will show up at the very end of this arc. But as far as allies coming here, I feel like this is someone else entirely. So the last video I made on this chapter, I said that Dragon and the Revolutionaries are at the bottom of my list for who could come here, simply because they were just so far away last we saw. But given the situation right now, I feel like this is the perfect chance for Dragon and the rest to come. And let me explain why. So, you know, taking into consideration that we probably need somebody to save Kuma, I feel like that's a big one. I feel like Dragon is just set up for so many wins here. It is ridiculous how big this could be for Dragon's character. Dragon could show up, he could save his old friend Vegapunk. Vegapunk is at the height of demise right now, right? His island is being blown to bits. Vegapunk has nothing left. He has no employer, he has no money. Vegapunk and Dragon, perfect duo, right? You know, Dragon offered Vegapunk a job a long time ago. Vegapunk turned him down. Now that Vegapunk has nowhere to go, boom, Dragon has Vegapunk, easy peasy. Dragon could save Kuma, right? His old friend Kuma, he said, Kuma, where are you going? Kuma blasted off into space. Dragon was none the wiser. Dragon could finally show up and show Kuma that he has his back. And not to mention, this would also fulfill Kuma's wish of wanting to fight alongside Dragon. That is what Kuma said during the flashback. Ah, Dragon, I want to fight with you one last time. That hasn't happened, right? Promises in One Piece are big. Whenever a promise is made in One Piece, I like to believe it will come true. If Dragon shows up, boom, it is done. It is done. And another reason why I think Dragon could get another W here is because he said that he would risk his life for Luffy. Luffy's life is in danger. I mean, technically it's not, because Luffy could come out of this pretty okay without Dragon, but Dragon did mention that Luffy is his weakness and that he would rush over to save Luffy more or less. So yeah, Dragon reading the newspaper that Luffy is on Egghead Island, I feel like Dragon has another reason to come here. I can almost already imagine it where next chapter, the pacifistas shoot their laser beams and then there's like this giant ball of wind that deflects all of the attacks. Kuma, Atlas, Bonnie, and Frankie, they're all floating in the air and Dragon's just standing in the middle. I can already see that, and that'd be really hype. But as far as any other character doing that, I'm not too sure. Like, the Blackbeard Pirates wouldn't do that. The Grand Fleet, maybe Bartolomeo, if he's here, could do that with his barriers, I guess. I've seen people bringing up Crossguild as potential people who could be coming to Egghead Island, but I don't know why Crossguild would save Kuma and Bonnie. So that's a hard one for me. But of course, if you're not on the savior train, if you believe that Luffy is the one who's going to save them, then none of this matters. Because like I said, Gear 5th Luffy is really wacky and zany. Theoretically, he could easily just, you know, take these blows or pull them off to the side. But I do feel like Luffy saying that he can barely move puts him out for this event. So as it stands right now, I am planning on talking about all the options because I don't want to lock myself in on the Dragon train. But I do want to talk about one more point as to why I think Dragon is the perfect fit for this scenario. Of course, like I said, he has all the wins set up for him. But another character that could show up alongside Dragon would be Sabo. You know, Sabo said he would drop everything revolutionary related. He would drop ASAP if he ever finds out that Luffy is in trouble. Well, believe it or not, 24 hours passed, the newspapers already flew around the world saying that Luffy is barricaded here on Egghead Island. I feel like this is a scenario where Sabo would want to assist his little brother. And Sabo perfectly fits in with Egghead Island because he met up with Bonnie at Marie Joie. And Bonnie was like, hey Sabo, I'm going to Egghead Island, right? In a way, this gives Sabo 2 reasons to come to Egghead Island. And who knows, maybe he told Dragon about it, and Dragon wants to protect Bonnie as well. You know, like, it all ties in. And now another way to tie Sabo into all of this, and this is something that I brought up earlier in the chapter, but I think Sabo would be the perfect character to go up to the Labo phase and stop the 1000 Sunny. So I know that's going to sound a little bit silly, like Sabo coming in, you know, stopping the Sunny with one hand or something. Yeah, a little bit goofy when you think about it. But on the base level, the reason why the 1000 Sunny is zipping and zapping around the clouds is because Brook froze it. It's all frozen, they can't stop. Well, you know who the perfect character is that can stop all of the ice? Well, it would be Sabo. Sabo could melt the ice and stop the 1000 Sunny from moving around willy-nilly. Sabo is perfect for that. And not to mention, in this chapter, one of the vice admirals mentions that the Labo sphere, the security dome, is still up. Well, we know that Logias are the only characters that can really go in and out of the security dome at will, because Kizaru, when he was entering Egghead Island, said that he could easily bypass the security dome. I don't know if it was Kizaru, I think it was Saturn who said that, but yeah, either way, Logias can pass through this. So Sabo making it up to the Sky Island just makes a lot of sense. And this is gonna sound a little bit weird, and I know it does, but I brought this up before, but in Film Gold, which isn't canon, Oda wrote it, but it isn't canon, Sabo stalled and faced off against Rob Lucci. And I'm like, hey, you know, like, Zoro hasn't beaten Rob Lucci yet. Jinbei was sent to get Zoro and to make sure he doesn't get lost, but would Rob Lucci willingly let them go? Would Rob Lucci see the Buster Call and leave too? I have no idea. Lucci is kind of a wild card here. But hey, if he still wants to fight, if he doesn't want to let Zoro or Jinbei or any of the Straw Hats go, then Sabo could be the perfect solution. You know, Sabo could beat him black and blue, right? Like, Sabo fought him in Film Gold. Maybe he's gonna fight him here. I think that'd be an interesting matchup. Of course, it would probably just be another stalling match, but I do think Sabo would be the perfect solution to our Lucci problem. If he is a problem, right? Who knows? Maybe by the time we get there, Jinbei and Zoro defeat Rob Lucci, because that is a possibility as well. But Lucci is an awakened Zoan, so even if you do take him down, he will get up pretty fast, right? Luffy knocked him unconscious in Gear 5th, and then Lucci got up like the very next chapter with a band-aid on his cheek. So there is a chance that even if Zoro and Jinbei beat him, Lucci will still be a threat that gets back up relatively fast. So yeah, I do think that the Revs, Sabo, Dragon, they would just make the perfect fit for this. And it would also alleviate the Straw Hats from the Vegapunks, because if Dragon shows up, he takes Bonnie, he takes Kuma, he takes Vegapunk, he takes the satellites with him, and they have a new home with the revolutionaries. Because I'm just gonna say it right here, but the 1000 Sunny is getting really crowded, right? Even with just the Straw Hats, the 1000 Sunny is getting kind of filled. So if we add in the satellites and Vegapunk and Bonnie and Kuma, it's just gonna be a big fiesta. And it also brings up the question of where would we take them? Would we bring them with us to Elbaf? Would we drop them off there? Will they come with us to the next island? Like, how long would we keep Vegapunk and all of the rest of these guys on our ship? Because honestly, I have no clue. So Dragon showing up here and just taking these characters away for us would not only be better for them, because I feel like they would fit in really well with the Revs, but it would also tie up that loose end for the Straw Hats. But I don't know. Like I said, maybe Vegapunk does end up going with the Straw Hats and he becomes their 10th Nakama, or maybe Elbaf is a great place for Vegapunk because he'll get to research all of the books from Ohara again. There's a lot of ways this could go, but I just feel like Dragon would be the best solution. But of course, like I said, I don't want to lock myself in on the Dragon thought train, so I do want to talk about the other options and how plausible they could be. Like I said before, I think Blackbeard and or the Blackbeard Pirates is also an option because, you know, last we saw the researcher ship, they were the ones who were closest to it. So I don't think that's a bad option either. But my problem with the Blackbeard Pirates is simply who's here. I've talked about this many times before, but as it stands, the only characters from the Blackbeard Pirates that we haven't seen recently are Devon and Lafitte. Those are the two stealthiest members of the Blackbeard Pirates, you know, outside of Shiryu. Shiryu's invisible, so he's also stealthy, but Lafitte and Devon, they're great at espionage, right? But with the Navy ship knowing that somebody's coming to Egghead Island and with them wanting to contact Kizaru, I feel like them sneaking around wouldn't be easy anymore if your enemies know you're here. Like, Lafitte and Devon are great candidates if no one knows that they're around. But with the Navy contacting Kizaru at the end of this chapter and telling him that they're coming, I feel like Lafitte and Devon would lose the element of surprise. Of course, though, my tone would definitely change if Marshal D. Teach Blackbeard himself is here, because he's a menace. Like Blackbeard showing up here would be actually crazy. At that point, you can really just throw stealth out the window, and Blackbeard can just Goro no Mi destroy Egghead Island and the Buster Call. He could Yami the Pacifista light beams. He could negate Devil Fruits. Yeah, Blackbeard would be crazy here. But I am putting my money on the notion that he isn't here because he just fought Law yesterday. I feel like he's still too worn out. He probably doesn't want to come here ASAP. So yeah, because of that, it's hard for me to imagine that Marshal D. Teach is the one who's here. But like I said, even if the ones who destroyed the ship are not the Blackbeard Pirates, I still do think that Lafitte and Devon, at the very least, are nearby. I see the Blackbeard Pirates as characters who take advantage of a situation. So let's say that the revolutionaries do show up, the Straw Hats, the Revs, they defeat Saint Saturn and Kizaru, they go along their merry way. I could see the Blackbeard Pirates coming in at that point when everybody's been defeated and taking what they want. They could come in while everybody's distracted, take what they want, and leave. Whether that be the Seraphim, the Green Blood, Devil Fruits, who knows? Maybe they want Saint Saturn or Admiral Kizaru. That could even be a possibility. And, you know, if you want to take down Kizaru or Saint Saturn, why not wait till after the battle, right? Why join in the middle of all the fighting? So yeah, Blackbeard is an option. Like I said, they are the closest ones to this island, so it does look pretty likely, but personally, I feel like they will show up farther into this arc, as silly as that sounds. Another option I've been kind of touting is the Grand Fleet, but given the circumstances, I can't exactly see how the Grand Fleet would benefit us. I feel like they could easily destroy the Buster Call. They could throw a wrench in that plan, but who knows? It has been a long while since we've last seen them at Dressrosa, so they could have gone a lot stronger. You know, like maybe Haruden comes in, he deflects all of the laser beams, Bartolomeo with his barriers, Ideo could be punching the pacifistas. You know, I guess the Grand Fleet could get a little bit crazy here. And another thing the Grand Fleet has going for them is that you don't exactly have to twist too many wires to make sense of why they would be here, right? They are a part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. They read the newspaper, they see that Luffy is holed up here on Egghead. Yeah, they would go, right? Like, they gotta protect their captain or fleet commander. So yeah, I feel like them showing up here makes sense. So in that regard, yeah, Grand Fleet could be a possibility. I just don't see how they would change the tides of battle too much. But hey, actually, yeah, now that I think about it, this could be big for the Vice Admirals, right? I kind of talked about how we skipped over them, how they don't matter too much anymore. But if the Grand Fleet shows up, yo, we could get Ideo versus the Clamshell guy. We could get Don Sai versus Bluegrass. Maybe Doll versus Boo. I'm trying to think of all the Grand Fleet members now. Orlumbus could fight Doberman. You know, two big commanders. I don't know. Maybe the Grand Fleet is growing on me. You know, the more I think about the Grand Fleet, the more I am open to the idea. But of course, though, like, my mindset right now is kind of set on the notion that we do need a savior for the Kuma situation and the Sunny, and the Grand Fleet doesn't fit either of those, but they do fit beating the Buster Call and beating the Vice Admirals. So yeah, in that regard, I do like them a lot. And sorry, I feel like every time I bring up a new option with Blackbeard or the Grand Fleet, somehow I always tie it back to Dragon. I apologize for that. But another reason why I think Dragon would be cool is because we could get some pretty cool interactions between Dragon and Kizaru, because we do know that they were both a part of the Navy at the same time. So yeah, they probably know each other. Akainu has a hard-on for Dragon. So yeah, I would assume that Kizaru knows of him. And Dragon said something really fascinating a couple chapters ago, where he said that he found no justice in the Navy whatsoever. So with that being the case, maybe Dragon could show them what his sense of justice actually is, and he could be the one who makes up Kizaru's mind, because Kizaru is unclear. Kizaru is like wishy-washy. So if Dragon shows up and says, "This is my justice," maybe Kizaru will be swayed by that. You know, that is wishful thinking. You know, nothing is concrete, but that is another reason why I think Dragon is a solid fit. So now I got two more options I want to talk about, because I saw people talking about these in the comment section of the last video and in the live stream. And I promise, I swear I won't bring up Dragon anymore. You know, no more Dragon. It's kind of funny too when I think about it, because I've never been a big fan of Dragon, but this just shows that, you know, agenda or what character I like aside, I try to see the best in characters. So yeah, you know, Dragon, he's a good option. He's a good option. So the last two options I do want to talk about are Cross Guild and Shanks, because I have seen people bring them up a lot. Cross Guild, I'm not gonna lie, I can't exactly see them coming here. For the shock value, I think it would be big, right? Like Mihawk showing up, you know, besting his Seraphim, destroying the fleet, Buggy, Crocodile. Yeah, it would be really cool. I think that would be a phenomenal showing from Cross Guild. But unlike the previous options with Dragon, the Grand Fleet, and the Blackbeard Pirates, I don't really see why Cross Guild would come here to Egghead Island. Because last we saw, Cross Guild and I guess just Buggy wants to become King of the Pirates. He wants the Poneglyph. He wants to join in on the race. How would coming to Egghead Island benefit him in any way? I guess you could argue that he could steal the Straw Hat's road poneglyphs. That could be an option. But I just don't really see Buggy wanting to fight Luffy like this, right? Like Sun God Nika Luffy, yeah, let's go fight that guy and take his poneglyphs. I can't imagine Buggy saying that. And not to mention, even if they did want to fight the Straw Hats and steal their poneglyphs, they're coming in at the worst possible time. We are in the middle of a buster call, brother. Saint Saturn, Kizaru, Vice Admirals, Marines, Pacifistas, Seraphim. Who in their right mind would think this is the best time to join in the battle and steal the poneglyphs? I don't see that being the case. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but I think it would be a lot easier just to go to Zou, make friends with the Minks, get a road poneglyph, go to Wano, make friends with them, get the road poneglyphs, and then go to Whole Cake Island while Big Mom and Katakuri and everybody is down for the count. I think that getting the 3 road poneglyphs would be pretty easy. Time consuming, yes, but it would be a lot easier than fighting the Straw Hat Pirates and coming here to Egghead. So in that regard, I don't see Cross Guild being the ones who are joining the battle. Although I have seen people say that they're not coming here for the poneglyphs and instead they just want to take down the Marines. But that wouldn't make sense either, because Cross Guild, Buggy, Crocodile, and Mihawk, they are paying people out of their own pockets to take down the Marines for them. So Buggy, Crocodile, and Mihawk being the ones who hunt the Marines themselves doesn't exactly make too much sense. But, you know, who knows? Maybe we get a crazy plot development and Cross Guild are the ones here and they have an ulterior motive. But right now, that might be the weakest one for me. And now onto the Shanks option, because I've seen people saying that Shanks could be here since Elbaf is nearby. Shanks departed. We don't know where he's going. But I would put Shanks almost in the same boat, where Shanks last said he wanted to find the One Piece, right? He just took Kid's 3 road poneglyphs. He's now probably looking for the 4th. Unless the 4th one is here on Egghead, I'm not too sure why he would come. And Shanks doesn't exactly strike me as a character that would feel the need to protect Luffy, right? Like, Shanks and Luffy have a promise that once you become a great pirate, we'll meet up again. And Shanks showing up as a savior here would be a little bit odd, in my opinion. Another option, sorry, there's like a third one I forgot about, is Jerma 66. Jerma double six, sorry, I always say 66 by accident. But yeah, Jerma could be an option because they were the last canon cover page story, and we did see that they wanted to go after Vegapunk, so maybe they show up here, and I could actually see them protecting Bonnie, Kuma, Atlas, and even Frankie, mainly because they're scientists, they know Vegapunk, so they would have some incentive to protect him. And we do know that the Jerma siblings can fly using their boots. They also have capes that could block off attacks. And in a strange way, it's kind of set up where Sanji and Jerma would have another interesting interaction where, you know, Jerma's up there protecting the people that Sanji wanted to protect, Sanji seeing his brothers and having to thank them again. It would be a fascinating dynamic. And hey, Sanji has awakened his Jerma capabilities as well. So maybe if Sanji's eyebrows change, maybe if Sanji, you know, fights Kizaru or Saturn, we could have Judge finally acknowledging that Sanji is not a failure. And maybe his siblings will be like, yo, Sanji, you know, he's going crazy. So I think that could be a really fun option. And if Jerma are the ones who are here, they could destroy the Buster Call because they do have like an entire armada of Jerma soldiers and ships. So I feel like they could balance things out for the Straw Hats here. I guess the one loose end that they couldn't tie up though would be the Thousand Sunny situation up on the clouds. You know, I don't really think any one of them can bypass the security dome and stop the Thousand Sunny. So that would leave that one up in the air. But yeah, you know, the more I think about it, the more I do think that Jerma isn't that bad of an option either. Man, Oda is a funny guy. He knows what he's doing here. Oda, throughout One Piece, has been really good at setting up scenarios like this where you don't really know what's going to happen next, right? The world of One Piece and its cast are so diverse, there's so many moving parts that there's a lot of good options here. Like, you know, I mentioned like 5 or 6 different ones just now, and honestly, I could see any one of them working. And honestly, I think that's one of the best parts about One Piece, just coming together and trying to guess what's gonna happen next. Of course, as long as it doesn't get too toxic. I try to keep all my doors open, but I've seen people who really fight for their sides like it's life or death, right? But yeah, man, what a great time to be a One Piece fan. Oh yeah, one more thing about Dragon, by the way. You know, I lied to you guys yet again. I'm bringing up Dragon one last time. But I think it was Vinland who posted this on Twitter, but in the last panel where you see the marine ship that has been destroyed, you can actually see the sound effects up top, and he's saying that those are wind sound effects. So hey, where there's wind, there's a dragon. You never know, man, you never know. It is 2024, year of the dragon, so maybe Oda's coming in with a bang. But yeah, with that being said, man, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this chapter. I'm just scrolling through it right now, and wow, what a fun time. I think it was a great chapter. Of course, it was shorter than usual. Not too much happened, but hey, there's no break next week. It's perfect setup, and it's got people talking, right? Who's coming to Egghead Island? I don't know. And I would love to hear all of your guys' opinions down below. Thank you so much for stopping in. Shout out to the channel members and Patreon members here on the side. You guys are phenomenal. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I might be doing like a 11:06 prediction video or something, just something goofy to fill the time. And in that video, I might also respond to a couple of comments because I feel like I haven't done that in a minute. But hey, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.